John and Ken Show. John Cobell and Ken Champeau. We're all back here.
We
back
are.
alive.
We're excited to be back. And, of course, it's a big week in Tiger World. He's back to the world of golf. He's going to play in the Masters beginning on Thursday. He's been doing some practice rounds today. And after he got off the course for a practice round, he sat down for an official press conference. This time, reporters were allowed to ask questions. And this time, he wasn't so somber. I noticed that speech he made back in February where it was just kind of a monotone. This time he tried to be a little more relaxed.
He was cheery.
He's getting back into it. I'm leaving it all behind me. It's all about the golf now, blah, blah, blah.
But please don't talk about the golf.
You can take our poll.
When he talks about golf, your ears start to bleed. I want to hear about the women.
Well, yeah, there wasn't really much talk about them.
Well, what's the point then?
It was mostly about family and his father and his new values.
And who's going to
lessons he's learned.
Who would believe anything he says?
I've read someplace, and I don't know if it's true, me being the news person, but I'm just going to throw it out there,
What?
that they've given pictures of all the mistresses to all the guards around there in case one of them shows up.
See, there have been all sorts of rumors, and I thought that former porn star that Gloria Allred represents, what's her name, Jocelyn James?
Jocelyn James.
I thought she was supposed to show up, but I don't know if you can't just get in. You have to have a ticket.
And
She was supposed to have a news conference afterward, too. I don't know if that happened.
Yeah, you're
she
right.
still says she didn't get her, what do you call it, apology.
well,
They
I
can
don't
show
think that's
up.
going to happen.
I thought they would at least show up on the streets outside the club or whatever's there. I don't really know the Augusta area, but I'm just guessing. So I thought that's where some of the women would show up to get their own little 15 minutes extended.
Except the ones that got paid off aren't going to show up.
Speaking
Jocelyn
of
James,
which, according to TMZ last week while we were away, Rachel Uchitel did get $10 million to not talk about Tiger after the whole story of the affair came out.
I got a story here about Jocelyn James' response to Tiger's press conference.
Oh, okay.
Headline is, he's still a big fat liar.
See, she didn't get any money because she's never stopped babbling.
Yeah, she wouldn't shut up.
Well, Uchitel, the Uchitel was different because if you remember the story, that's who Tiger was texting the day of the fight. And that is the woman that Elin discovered Tiger was texting. And supposedly Elin called her up, and it didn't go well. Remember that?
I think
Tiger reacted first to Rachel Uchitel saying, all right, if I can just get her to be quiet, maybe the other ones who haven't said anything to this point won't say anything. So let's get her $10 million. Because, and then she had Gloria Allred, remember, representing her. And I remember talking about this back in November into December. Suddenly Rachel Uchitel went quiet. Remember that? And, John, you said correctly, she probably got paid.
She got paid. Anybody who shuts up got paid or has already expended all of their usefulness.
So
they've
then
already said everything they know.
He doesn't care about this Jocelyn James because she's ranting on and on now. And
yeah, I think he might have had a semi-relationship with Rachel Uchitel, and I think Jocelyn James really was just a porn star he picked up at one of the bars. Like he doesn't have any feeling for her at all. I think he was somewhat friends with Rachel Uchitel. So anyway, the story is that they held a press conference, Jocelyn James and Gloria Allred, right after Tiger was done. And Jocelyn James was on with Howard Stern, and she described Tiger as crazy, possessive, and desperate to please sexually.
Wow.
Is that new?
It's just a new interview. I don't know if there's any new information. Jocelyn James says she believes without a doubt there are many other mistresses who have yet to come out of the sex scandal woodwork. And she told reporters at her own press conference, quote, "My feelings regarding his press conference was it's still a big malarkey."
Big malarkey?
Or did she say he has a big malarkey?
One of them did say he is incredibly well endowed. I forget which one.
Oh, he's got to be. For him to get this kind of... He's not truthful. He's not honest. He should be focusing his time right now instead of returning to golf so quickly on his family, on the loved ones that he says he loves so dearly.
See, it's starting to get repetitive. These women, they've really outlasted their 15 minutes.
Yeah, shut up.
And they just keep saying the same things over and over again.
Well, we all know he's a
And she still wants an apology? Is that the last thing?
Yeah, he wants an apology. But apology for what? What's he going to apologize for? I mean, she's a porn star. That's what I don't understand here. You can imagine if she was like some sweet, innocent 21-year-old girl and it was the first real experience in her life, and, she was led to believe she was going to be Tiger's wife and all this, right? And everything came crashing down in her head. But she's a porn star. She knows
Former.
this is all BS.
She's a former porn star.
She's always going to be a porn star. How else is she going to make money? You're always a porn star.
He really went out there and found himself some cliches, didn't he? Porn stars and club hostesses.
And they're all the same woman. If you hear them talk, they're all stupid. They're stupid as boards. They don't have anything to say. All they can do is they can open their legs up. That's the beginning and end. So, well, how much you get? I mean, actually perfectly suited to golfers because, as I said before, golfers are kind of stupid and boring, and so are club sluts. So I mean, there's nothing there to talk about. Once you learn that the kinky sex they had, what are you going to do? What are you going to say?
So
so he likes to pull hair and he likes to spank and.
He made a brief opening statement. This news conference was only about 35 minutes long. And then he took questions from the gathered media. Let's listen first to question number 2, asked about whether or not Elin is going to show up at the Masters.
Tiger, will Elin and the kids be joining me this week at the Masters? And if not, is that a sign that she's not ready to support you yet? And should you be making this return so soon to the game?
Elin is not coming this week, no.
So should you be returning to the game so soon with that time spent repairing your relationship?
Well, I'm excited to play this week.
Tiger, will you keep your management team intact? And how much did they actually know about everything that was going on in your personal life?
Yeah, I will certainly have everyone around me. I've lied and deceived a lot of people. A lot of people didn't know what I was doing either. So,
yeah, but all the people on his team knew because they all had to set it up for him. So you notice how careful.
All the liaisons.
Yeah, I mean I'm sure his caddy and his manager and his agents and all these other hangers-on that a guy like him has. They had to do all the dirty work of renting the hotel rooms and buying the plane tickets.
Oh yeah, supposedly that guy that was he was going to be the best man at that guy's wedding was the one that arranged for Rachel Uchitel to go to Australia in one of the last liaisons in November. So yeah, clearly.
So he's saying, well, some of the people were deceived and lied to. What's some of the people? What? The receptionist at the front desk? I mean, come on. Everybody in his inner circle knew and facilitated it, and they didn't care. Because they've all been together for many years. Elin showed up in the middle of this circus, so they don't have any nobody has any care for the wife.
He probably pays them well.
He only pays them enormously well. I mean, when you've made $1 billion and ongoing, you're making, tens of millions of dollars every year or $100 million every year. Even after taxes, even after paying off all your agents and managers, that is a huge gusher of money. You control and buy, and these are all the best jobs these guys are ever going to have, too. That's another thing. Not only are they getting a lot of money, but they're getting to travel with Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer, the greatest athlete in world history. No matter what happens the rest of their lives, these are going to be the glory days. So nobody is going to say boo to Tiger no matter what he wants to do. If Tiger wants to have sex with them, they'll drop their pants and do whatever he says.
Ew.
Well, you're really going with the ooh today. Well,
It's been a lot of it.
I don't know who his handlers.
For a week.
I don't know who his handlers have been, but I guess somebody said about 6 or 7 years ago, you got a great marketing operation going on, Tiger, and you're a very wealthy man. We're going to make this perfect. If you got married and had a couple of kids, then you would just really cement your legend as the ultimate marketing tool of sports forever. If you just go ahead and do that. But he clearly wasn't ready. He was still wanting to bed down, party sluts, as you put them, and club sluts.
Club sluts, yeah.
All right, we'll play more of these clips when we come back. Tiger brought up his offer. I listened to most of it as he could. The memories of his father and his family and how he couldn't be there for his son's first birthday last Christmas.
If anybody falls for this crap again, you are a real brainstem, all right? Everybody got fooled once. He can't pull out the same stories and references again and have people fall for it.
Let's just hope he shoots 100 each round.
You know what I like? I like the guy that Terry Ray had on the newscast who says, I don't care about him. I hope he does real badly. That's where I am. I'm hoping he shoots a 95 on Thursday. Really, I do. I hope he trips and falls into the water. That would be great. The last thing I want is him to shoot a 62 and win this stupid tournament. I want him to miss the cut in the first round. All right, more coming up here on the John and Ken Show. KFI AM640, more stimulating talk radio. John and Ken Show. John Covelt and Ken Champeau back together. Everybody's here live.
That's
chewing
right.
on Tiger Woods' corpse.
Yeah, Tiger will be playing in the Masters. The first official round is Thursday. Went out there and took some practice today with a couple of other golfers. First thing I noticed when he walked up there at the press conference and started talking about his practice round, he said, yeah, Craig and I, and he stopped and he goes, oh, no, it was Fred. He was with Fred Couples. I don't know why he used the word Craig. I guess he's in such a...
is that a code word for something?
Fog.
Who's
some
Craig?
sports writer made a big deal about that. Some golf writer I heard on one of the cable
because he
channels,
called Fred Craig?
Yeah, it's like, oh my God.
Well, there was Craig Stadler, who was a pretty famous golfer for almost the same era that Fred Couples was a big name. I don't know. That's what I thought of when I heard it. I didn't make a big deal out of it. Let's play... well, he was asked about the drugs, John. He was asked about whether or not this doctor who we talked about in much detail last year.
This Canadian doctor who's...
Galea.
Anthony Galea.
Was given him HGH, human growth hormone.
Because Galea had an assistant who was caught at the U.S.-Canadian border and who
with a bag
of
junk.
Had some bad stuff on him. And Galea has treated a number of athletes, including Alex Rodriguez. And nobody knows why all these athletes go to Canada. When you think about, excuse me, I may cough up a lot today. I got a cold last week.
Oh.
When you think of all the doctors in the world, I mean medical sports doctors, and then you find out there's a guy in Canada that all the big athletes are going to, the top athletes, some of them who are connected to steroids or HGH. I get real curious about that. Why do you go to why is everybody going to this guy in Canada? What does he know that nobody else knows?
Or he's got something that no one else will administer.
Exactly.
Either legally or morally.
Right.
That's usually what it is.
And they say he has some kind of...
and you know what? There aren't that many agents for many of these famous athletes, so word gets around pretty quickly when you got a doctor that's got something that's, quote, working. And if it's not legal or moral, then they line up to get the same guy. That's how it works.
Some of these athletes, Tiger Woods isn't stupid, but a lot of athletes.
But by the way, Tiger Woods denied taking any HGH from this Galea.
Oh, of course
he came there to give him that treatment, that special treatment.
Plasma spinning.
Right, the plasma spinning.
That's what I was going to say. That's what this guy does. Some kind of plasma spinning that heals injuries quicker.
Tiger's knee troubles. Yeah.
Right, and so everybody says, "Oh, I'm going for the plasma spinning." It's like, really? He's the only guy in all of North America that does this plasma spinning. Are you sure it really works? Or is the plasma spinning a cover for something else? And maybe the athletes, who many of them are stupid as stumps anyway, many of the athletes really don't know what's being injected in them, and they don't want to know. They don't care. It's like, look, I got something magic in here, and you're going to heal quicker, and you're going to be stronger and more muscular. And we're in Canada right now, so everything's legal. Well, okay. So you bend over and you take the big 7-inch Canadian needle in your rear end, and all of a sudden your thing heals.
Your what?
Well, whatever it is that's hurting, whatever's been damaged, your thing.
Well, there were reporters who noticed that Tiger looked bigger just a couple of years ago on the tour. He suddenly looked
bulkier,
like some of those baseball players who got bigger.
Like Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire.
Of course, they didn't say much, but after the big sex scandal broke, some of them piled on and said, well, maybe he's using HGH too. And you got that Dr. Galea, the Canadian guy, who's been known to have assistance with that drug found in their bags.
Maybe he's a complete fraud, not just a fraud to his wife.
For the record, Tiger not only denied HGH, he says he's never taken any illegal drug for that matter. So then he was asked about the Ambien. Remember, there were reports that when he crashed his car trying to get away from Elon, that he may have been on Ambien as a sleeping pill. So let's listen to clip number 7.
Tiger, did Ambien play a role in the car crash? You were described by the witnesses as mumbling, snoring, obviously sockless, and according to a leaked hospital report, were admitted as a possible OD.
Well, the police investigated the accident, and they cited me $166. And it's a closed case.
Now, you can tell...
They investigated it, oh, please.
They didn't do anything.
Now, you can tell by that short answer. There's something you didn't want to talk about there
Yeah,
concerning Ambien or anything else. Oh, only charged me $166. Case closed. Next question.
Wait a second. You crashed a car about 5 times in a block and a half, and your wife is chasing you with a golf club, and you're able to snore? You're able to fall asleep?
Sockless.
In the middle of it?
What happened? Yeah, he was lying there snoring.
He, you know what? He had to take Ambien. How else would you sleep if you had all this going on in your life? If you really had a wife and 16 mistresses, how the hell could you sleep? It's impossible. So that's why he took the Ambien.
Yeah, he was asked about Ambien and like Vicodin, and he was talking about some of his injuries with his knee and then the death of his father. He admitted, but those are prescription drugs, as he was saying. It had nothing to do with, illegal drugs like HGH, and he did admit taking those things. He cited his father quite a few times, which kind of surprised me because
he's
his
doing
father's been accused of the same behavior.
Well, it's what politicians do. They try to hide behind family members.
Yeah.
And so he's hiding behind his father, and he didn't open up talking about how he missed his son's
let's play
first
clip number
birthday.
1, and let's talk about this sentimental moment.
Yeah, see if you start sobbing here.
Probably just prior to Christmas, I made the decision to enter rehab, and having spent Christmas Day with my family was just incredible, and then having to go off from there into to treatment. That was a very difficult time because what people probably don't realize is that because of the time frame of it, I missed my son's first birthday, and that hurts. And that hurts a lot. And I vowed I'd never miss another one after that. I can't go back to where I was. I want to be a part of my son's life and my daughter's life going forward. And I missed his first birthday. I mean, that's.
Oh, you just stop it.
That was very
just
hard.
Stop it.
That little speech was for Elin to make her understand he doesn't want to be separated from his children, and he needs his children for his image.
That's right.
You know how David Letterman came out and after his wife was angry that he never apologized to her, right? And the inside story was he had to make sure he apologized to his wife the second time he talked about the whole thing with the staffers. So I think Tiger's in the same boat here. I got to mention the children. I can't miss my son's birthdays anymore. Blah, blah.
All right.
We'll play some more clips at Tiger Woods at his big news conference today at Augusta.
This is the John and Ken Show. John and Ken Show. John Cobell and Ken Champeau. Now, we've been talking about Tiger Woods, and we have a Tiger Woods question on our website, johnandken.com. Do you think Tiger would cheat again?
Yes.
And you can vote on that. But there's also another vote, if I could just take just a minute here, that
I'd
like
vote?
to urge. Yeah, another vote. For the first time in my life, and you know that I don't spend any time watching reality shows, right? Last week, for the first time, I actually voted on a contestant in a reality show. I was so moved.
That's really disheartening to hear.
Well, no, you'll understand. Dancing with the Stars, Buzz Aldrin.
Oh, the astronaut.
The second guy to walk on the moon. My whole family was watching it, and we're on vacation in Florida, and we're at the in-laws' house, and so everybody's watching Dancing with the Stars. And I've seen it in passing a few times because my wife's a big fan. But I was excited to see Buzz Aldrin. He's about, 80 years old. And he dances, kind of in a formal, stiff way, as you would expect. But, man, he got savaged by the judges, savaged and insulted by the judges. And I got so pissed. I go, here's one of the great American hero in his last days. And he's 80 years old, and they invite him onto this dance program. And you think he'd be treated with some respect. And instead he's mocked because he can't dance as well as, somebody from the Pussycat Dolls.
The Pussycat Dolls? Was there somebody from the Pussycat Dolls on?
Yeah.
There was?
I think so.
Oh.
Yeah, there is.
Maybe
there
not
is.
this time.
And she dances.
Yeah.
She dances crazy, and she gets a 10. And Buzz Aldrin comes and gets a 4. And I thought, why do you invite a guy on like that just to embarrass him? That was wrong.
That's why they do it.
Well, he could have said no, and that's Terry Ray's right. That's part of the entertainment value.
No, it's just wrong.
If you're going to go on the show and you can't dance, you got to expect to be criticized.
Well, he danced the way an 80-year-old man would dance. He was very, very elegant and graceful, and he wasn't doing the moves that the girls were doing.
It was like a year ago they had Tom DeLay on. I mean, what's the point of that?
Well, yeah, but he's a dirtbag pig whore of a congressman.
But he still can't dance. Neither one of them can dance, so there's really no point being on the show. Buzz should go on an astronaut show.
They don't have astronaut shows. Nobody cares about astronauts. They only care about
I'm glad to see you getting sentimental, but really.
Well, I grabbed the phone and I voted for him 10 times. I kept dialing the number until they told me I couldn't vote anymore.
You can vote 10 times? I don't know. I don't vote
8 times 10, something like that. I just kept dialing and it kept accepting my number.
So did he go off or what happened?
No, he didn't. They kicked off the Shannon Doherty.
Oh, that was last week, right?
That was last week.
He won't survive this week then.
Well, no, that's why I'm urging everybody when the show runs tonight to vote for Buzz Aldrin. I want him to last another week. No, I was telling my kids. My kids weren't, they only had a vague idea who Buzz Aldrin was. I'm explaining what a great man he is. The rest of the people on the show are a bunch of trash. I mean, Kate Gosselin, they had reality show stars. They had Pamela Anderson, all these trashy, disgusting sluts. And here's Buzz Aldrin, and Buzz Aldrin was getting all the criticism. Nobody got savaged more than Buzz Aldrin.
Because
Probably
it's
the
just
greatest...
about dancing. It's not about space
missions.
missions.
There's a certain amount of respect there,
What are you not getting
a bunch of reality show sluts are getting lionized by the crowd, everybody cheering and screaming. Oh. Here comes Buzz Aldrin and this British judge. What would he know? He's British. He's not American. He doesn't know what a great hero the guy is. And the Italian guy, he doesn't know.
You spent too much time in the Florida sun. You've gone soft-headed.
This is what happens when we're
actually sitting here screaming about Dancing with the Stars.
Yes, I am. I thought it was such a horrible insult that these two foreigners were trashing Buzz Aldrin. So vote for Buzz tonight.
You need to get into Tiger's bag of medicines. You need something to refocus you.
Look, I'm trapped. They have one TV in my in-laws' house.
Yeah, when you go on vacation, you really are trapped.
All right, it's 7 people in a really small house with one TV.
You love those Florida trips, don't you?
Huh? I do.
Let's play some more Tiger. These are going to be the two clips we picked out that are self-reflecting. Tiger is going to talk about here in clip number 3 about how, he seems to be able to control everything that's going on around him. But how did this happen? And then the next clip we'll play is just how come people were so fooled by all your mistresses? So let's start with clip 3.
Tiger, we've come to know you as a guy that controls things around you pretty tightly, around you, whether it's this or everywhere around your life. And with all of the reports that have come out with seemingly a lot of loose ends with the things that you did, whether it be text messages or whatever.
Can you stop a second? Does this guy sound afraid?
Yeah.
He sounds like he's afraid.
Well, he sounds very reverent. Tiger,
exactly, reverent.
We're all not comfortable being here, but I just had this idea in my head to ask you about. Being a guy who can control everything, how does this get out of your control?
Well, yeah, and what happens is they're so scared and they're so reverent that the question goes on for a minute and a half because they're too uncomfortable and they can't ask him directly, why was he running around with 16 party girls?
Well, this isn't what they do. Normally they write about golf and they write about the personalities of golf, but they don't write about affairs. But they're really at a loss here to figure out what to do.
You know, it's not that complicated though. First of all, he's just a golfer, okay? He's not the son of God. For God's sakes. I mean, he's just a golfer. And you could hear him, the trembling in his voice. He's so worried the Tiger's going to get mad at him. But his boss has probably said, look, if you're going to do this, if you're going to cover this press conference, would you get some news out of it? Would you get something interesting out of it? We don't want to hear about, the 7-iron that Tiger is going to use on the 16th hole. We don't really care about that. We want to know how he fooled everybody for 15 years.
Now, let's continue this.
With all of the reports that have come out with seemingly a lot of loose ends with the things that you did, whether it be text messages or whatever those things be, it leads to wonder why you would leave so many loose ends, and is there almost some element of you that wanted to get caught?
I don't know. All I know is I acted just terribly, poorly, made just incredibly bad decisions and decisions that have hurt so many people close to me, and that's enough.
Incredibly bad decisions.
It's like every other guy that gets in this situation, especially somebody as wealthy and as powerful as him. And by the way, I was reading this column over the weekend that what really screwed up Tiger was hanging out with Barkley and Michael Jordan.
I saw that.
They're in the same sort of fold. They kind of brought him into this feeling of entitlement. You're now a rich, super famous athlete, and you're untouchable. So once Tiger starts diddling with the first woman and nobody says anything, it becomes easier and easier to just start playing around with 16 different women before you know it.
Because
he gets too cocky.
And Jordan are insatiable monsters.
That's what I read. Gambling and women.
Oh, you know
golf.
Do you know why?
Yeah, they do golf, yeah.
Jordan was trying to play baseball for 2 years?
I thought he wanted to be a star there, too.
No. The story, which nobody will confirm for sure, but apparently he got kicked out of the NBA for 2 years because of excessive gambling.
And
they needed a cover. And so they came up with this idea, he
that
said,
he was going to retire and play baseball.
He was going to retire and play
baseball.
But he
came back. Oh, I see. 2 years later, he came back.
Because he played so badly at baseball, they couldn't carry on the fiction
They're
for
like,
too
okay,
long.
this is not such a great idea.
Yeah. So in
You're
the middle,
saying that this was a deal between the NBA and Major League Baseball for him to do this?
It was a deal. Well, first of all, between Jordan and the NBA.
Yeah.
And they needed a plausible cover story. And Jordan said, "Well, I always wanted to play baseball. I can play pretty well."
So if he had just said, "I'm retiring," and not played any sports, that wouldn't have gone well, and people would have been digging into what's the real reason, and he would have found out because of his gambling addiction.
It's like because he had just won 3 championships in a row,
but that's the time to go out. You're on a high.
That's why everybody bought the story.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I would have questioned it if he didn't play Major League Baseball. I would have just said, all right.
Well, I never questioned it either, but I actually saw a story on this recently, and then I started following links on the internet, and it's actually quite a well-discussed story over the years that Michael Jordan had such a bad gambling problem, he was forced to leave the NBA for 2 years.
And look at that. We're talking about, what was that, probably the mid-'90s or something like that?
Yeah, 94, 95, I think he.
If we had the type of the TMZs and the Radar Onlines then that we have now, he would have been exposed to. But we didn't get that much of what was really going on with Michael Jordan because we didn't have as much tabloid coverage as we do now. So, absolutely. And Barkley, too. Barkley's done some crazy things.
What was the last thing we heard about Barkley? He was driving around, I think it was in Phoenix somewhere, and he was chasing a girl at 2 a.m, driving drunk, and she's in one car, he's in another, and why are you chasing her drunk at 2 a.m? Well, she'd performed a sex act on me, last week, and I was chasing her.
She was really good at it.
Yeah, I wanted to get another one.
Oh.
Yeah. So she didn't even know he was following her. He just recognized her as she drove by. Because maybe that was the block she works on.
Oh, that's that girl.
Yeah, I remember her.
Now, is he married? I know Michael Jordan used to be married, but...
I don't... Barkley? He doesn't act like he's married. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he is, though.
But he's lost incredible amounts of money gambling, too. These guys are all crazy.
We'll tell you what Tiger had to say when he was asked about his legacy and how the whole scandal. And by the way, when he talked about going into rehab, he never talked about that it was for sex addiction or anything. No specifics.
All right, more coming up on the John and Ken Show. John and Ken Show continues. John Cobelt and Ken Champeau.
Yeah, coming up after 4 o'clock, it's been almost a month since they found Amber Dubois' body. We still don't know whether or not they're going to claim that John Albert Gardner III killed her, but one of the stories we learned in the search for Amber Dubois following the murder of Chelsea King, apparently by John Albert Gardner III, is that the family last year had actually hired a company to use those highly trained dogs to try to track Amber Dubois' scent. And the story, according to a publicist hired by the family, is that they did track last August Amber Dubois' scent to that same Indian reservation area, Pala, where her body was found on March 6th. And we're going to talk to one of the handlers with this company called VK9 Scent Specific Search and Recovery Unit after 4 o'clock about that search last summer for Amber Dubois. All right, our Tiger Woods poll right now is running. He's gained a little bit. It's 80% thinks that he will cheat on his wife again, and 20% think that he will not. The purpose of today's news conference was to once again, this time, many have been saying for months since the story, Tiger needs to open up and let reporters just ask him anything. So today was finally going to be the day as Tiger prepares to play in the Masters tournament.
Who says that, by the way?
The media pundits that I read.
I heard enough. This was mildly entertaining today to have him talk again, but seriously.
Yeah, but I knew it was going to be generic. I wouldn't mind if Tiger actually sat down, I don't even care if it's Oprah, I don't care who it is, and really told the story of that night.
Spill the beans.
Oh, including Elin going into the rage and throwing the phone at him. Now he's saying today in the news conference that all he got was a swollen lip and a sore neck. But what about the plastic surgery rumors? Were those true? What happened to your face?
Yeah, well, golf writers aren't going to ask that, and he's not going to answer those questions.
Well, he's always saying is these are private. We're not going to discuss the details.
I don't know. Are we?
Did she really break the window to pull you out? Wasn't that BS? Wouldn't you like somebody to just say that to him? Just watch his face?
Well, that's what
Even if he denies it, wouldn't you want to see his face respond to that?
That's what the tabloid writers would ask, but they
weren't allowed in.
They wouldn't let those people in. Instead,
no,
it was
just golf writers.
It was the fat slob drunk golf writers who've had their heads buried in Tiger's rear end for 15 years.
They just want this over with so Tiger can be a smashing hero again.
You know, I mean, the last guy that we played, the way he was. Clay, play the last clip again. Just the question. There was one part of the question that cracked me up there, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it. Play it again.
Tiger, we've come to know you as a guy that controls things around you pretty tightly, around you, whether it's this or you're everywhere around your life. And with all of the reports that have come out with seemingly a lot of loose ends with the things that you did, whether it be text messages or whatever those things be.
Stop. Whether it be text messages or whatever those things. I mean, he was asking a girl.
The exciting sexting messages.
Yeah, he asked one of the girls, I guess it was Jocelyn James, the porn star, have you ever gotten a golden shower?
Yes, he talked about tying up each other and
pulling their hair and beating them until they were sore.
Yeah,
and
would
having
you
sex
like
with them until they were sore. I mean, come on. Wait.
Would it be great if a reporter stood up and read those and just said, Tiger, are these all true? Did you actually text these to her?
Yeah. Did you do this stuff? Is this how you got Elin? When Elin had the kids, she stopped doing this stuff, so that's why you turned to the rest of the girls? Those are the questions they ought to be asking him.
Well, they ignore his personal life, although they do say there are critical stories about Tiger's over the years, about his temper, that he's surly, that he ignores the fans. Apparently today he was smiling and he acknowledged the fans. It's a new Tiger.
He wants his $1 billion back.
Yeah, he wants his life back.
Anybody smiling at Tiger, you're an idiot. And Tiger smiling back at you, he doesn't care about you. He didn't care about you for 15 years. All he wants is your money. As long as you buy the golf tickets and you support the TV sponsors, that's all he wants to know. Just keep buying, the beer that they sell on the TV show every Sunday afternoon. That's all Tiger wants out of you. He smiled at me. Oh, he looks pretty good. He smiled at me. What kind of idiot?
Well, you're a baseball fan. Are you fed up with all the steroid stuff and you wanted just these guys to go back to playing ball and let's just stop talking about all the drugs or what? I don't know. Some baseball fans are like that now. They don't want to hear any more about this.
Go out
to hit the home runs and I'll cheer.
I don't want to smile at the players. I'm not looking for the player to love me. I don't believe anything the player says. I don't worship anybody.
Him, yeah.
No, you worship. This is a sign of how far you've evolved as a person. That is really fun when you're a kid. And I even tell my kids, just admire their play. I told my son just yesterday, Kobe Bryant is a bad guy. Tiger Woods is a bad guy. You can enjoy him playing golf. You can enjoy Kobe playing basketball, but he's a bad guy. And they all know that. And they still watch and they root and they have a good time. But there's none of this bizarro hero worship.
See, the problem is, though, why would you want to root for a bad guy? You see?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to do that. That's why I do not like Kobe Bryant and the Lakers, and I do not like Tiger Woods. I will not root for them either. I will not separate the two. They're all one bad person, and I hope they fail. That's why I root against the entire Oakland Raider team. I have a whole list. The Yankees, like you do.
Well, I'm leaving it open for them to decide whether they want to admire the athletic artistry. But I don't want them trying to I don't want them thinking like we all used to think as kids that these guys are larger than life. They're not. They're a bunch of a-holes, most of them, really.
Well,
they're stupid, they're drunk, they're drug addicts, they're they hurt women. They're just bad guys.
Let's play another reflective question. Cut number 5 asked about his legacy.
Tiger, what does this do for your legacy?
Well, my dad.
It's
amazing how he says things that comes back.
What did he say when he cheated on your
people,
mom?
You have to first learn how to help yourself. That's what he always used to say. I never understood that. When I was in treatment, I wrote that down. I looked at it every day. And learning how to help myself, I can help more people going forward, infinitely more than I did prior to all this.
What was the line? You can't help people until you help yourself? Is that what it was?
Something like that.
Oh, that's really deep.
Wow. Ooh, Tiger Woods' father. Ooh,
in order to help people, you have to first learn how to help yourself.
No, in order to help people, you first have to learn how to help yourself. Wow. That's really deep.
I still don't know what that means.
His father. Well,
that makes no sense.
No, it does make sense.
Does?
Yeah. Well, you would never help anyone, so there's really no point going through this with you.
Exactly.
I don't
But
help
until
myself.
you've straightened yourself out, you really can't be of much use to other people. That's what it means.
In order to help people,
Whatever
you
your
have to first
demons
learn how
are,
to help
John, whatever
yourself.
your own problems are, whatever makes you miserable or makes you unhappy, you have to straighten those out before you can help others, which might be your family. Can't really deal with that.
Well,
That's
I guess
why-
you and Tiger's father are just on the same wavelength here.
Well, I didn't think it was particularly deep or reflective. It was kind of simple. All right, we'll talk about Tiger a bit more later on in the show. But when we come back, we're going to talk to one of the women that had the dogs that apparently were on the scent of Amber Dubois last summer and actually tracked her to that same Indian reservation grounds where her body was later found.
All coming up on the John and Ken Show. Terry Railmer has the news now. KFI AM640, more stimulating talk radio.
Monday, April 5th.
This one's John. That one's Ken. Any questions? KFI.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
News on the hour, on the half, and when it breaks.
Tiger Woods is back at Augusta National.
It's been just an incredible experience so far here at the Masters.
Woods took reporters' questions today for the first time since he slammed his SUV into a tree outside his house in November.
I had a busted up lip and a pretty sore neck, and that was it.
That was it, he said. Woods says what he did to his family was terrible. He apologized to other players who've been hounded by reporters because of him, and he acknowledged the fans. He says it was wrong of him not to do that until now. He also talked about how hard it's been in rehab, having to take a hard look at himself. He wouldn't say why he was in rehab. The fight over an electricity rate increase may throw the city of Los Angeles into even worse financial trouble.
The Department of Water and Power's refusal to hand over $73 million means City Controller Wendy Gruhl will have to dip further into reserve accounts just to pay the bills.
The $90 million that we've asked for, we believe, will allow us to pay for that May 5th, and we believe for our May 19th payroll.
That may leave city accounts millions in the red at the end of the year. The DWP refused to hand over the money after the City Council blocked its efforts to raise electricity rates. The DWP says its finances are now at risk, though it has $1 billion in its own reserve accounts. At City Hall, Eric Leonard, KFI News.
Caltech's Kate Hutton says the ground's going to be shaking for quite a while.
Even though the aftershocks are decreasing, they're becoming less frequent with time, they're still going on at a pretty healthy rate, and the people who live in that area are getting no sleep.
U.S. Geological Survey says a 7.2 earthquake that hit northern Baja California yesterday was a near miss. It's because the earthquake near Mexicali